How's everybody doing this morning? Crowd's looking a little lighter this morning. There's probably a few still hanging out in the casino, I guess. The presentation that I've got going on this morning is all about staying organized at the job place. It is a very important thing to me in my business to make sure that everything is moving along quite nicely. So I wanted to take that out here. I've done this presentation a few times. I think I've done it twice in BC. I've done it in Alberta. And somewhere else I can't remember at the moment, but hopefully you guys are able to take something out from this presentation. So we'll run through this real quick because we did this yesterday afternoon. Who am I? My name is James Stiksma. I'm the owner of Canadian Septic. I am a registered on-site wastewater practitioner. I am a planner and installer and part of the Western Canadian On-Site Waste Management Association of British Columbia. And for those who couldn't put a finger on exactly who I was and thought they knew me somehow, I was also Mr. April of 2022 in Installer magazine. So Dervin, you set up the extra magazines for the autographs afterwards. That was in my rider. Yeah? Okay. Again, born, raised Fraser Valley, about an hour outside of Vancouver in British Columbia. Married to my high school sweetheart, 4 kids. Love coaching my kids' sporting teams. I found that it is a lot more acceptable when you're yelling at your children on a sports field when you're on the bench. From the crowd, not so much, so I find myself often behind a bench or in a dugout. And I love golf. Golf doesn't love me, but I love golf. And of course, we have a miniature pony in the basement. A little bit of history on Canadian Septic, incorporated back in fall of 2016, started up in 2017, which is also when I got certified. We hired my first full-time employee, who is my brother-in-law, Arian, late in 2017. He actually started part-time in the summer of 2017. I was doing my best not to change too much about the business when I got in, because as I explained yesterday, I'm not from the dirt world, septic world. I didn't want to assume that I knew better than the guy who had been doing it for 10 to 15 years. So tried to keep everything as similar as possible for at least the first year. But by the time December rolled around, we knew that it was there was definitely full-time work for him moving forward. Now, one of the things that is also unique about our business, at least for the first 6-7 years, is that I didn't own a single piece of equipment. We were the guys out there getting the jobs from the customers. We were the ones sourcing the parts. We were the ones assembling the systems. In some instances, we were the ones designing it. But we would just hire somebody with an excavator to come out, point, get them their elevations, and be there for the entire process. But that is, in essence, why we were so focused on being as efficient as we could, because we were getting charged by the hour. In the middle of 2022, it's again one of those things where we're proving out the concept, figuring out how much work we have, when we decided to take the plunge and buy our first piece of equipment. We bought a Kubota KX57, almost bought a Volvo, actually had signed papers on a Volvo, but this was around the time when you couldn't get equipment anywhere. And when I tell you the ink wasn't even dry on the paperwork for the Volvo, when I got a phone call from someone on Vancouver Island saying, hey, one of my customers just returned the machine, do you want it? I had to have a very awkward conversation with the guy at Volvo. After that, we bought a track loader, realizing that we needed something to get the piles a little bit further away from our tank excavations, because you just don't quite have that reach. So we've got 2 pieces of equipment, and we hired our second full-time employee. And you can see we bought our excavator a little bit after that, wanted to just make sure that he was going to be around. And then we bit the bullet on our equipment. So staying organized in the workplace. There's a saying, a place for everything and everything in its place. And when I was looking it up, there are a number of people that have had that quote attributed to them. But we'll give it to Ben Franklin, because goodness knows he doesn't get enough credit for other stuff. So am I some sort of organization expert? No, I won't claim to be. I don't have a Six Sigma belt. I don't know, the Toyota methods of production, and I don't watch Marie Kondo and her organization. But again, having a unique perspective, not being in the industry my entire life growing up, I'm asking questions that maybe others just take for granted, or coming up with answers that others don't think of. So one of the things, then again, I just pointed out, our first 6 years of business, our profitability very much relied on us being efficient, as we were paying out an excavator somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 to 140 bucks an hour on site. So why do we want to be organized? There's a number of factors involved. You want to make sure that your crew and your team have a very safe environment to work in. And we'll go over some of the ways being organized will do that for you. We want to increase our efficiency. We want to be able to get out more systems in less time. We also want to ensure that we are increasing the quality of our work. Again, we'll touch on all of these individually as to what the organization is going to do for you in that regard. And the last thing, creating an elevated level of professionalism in our industry, in our business as well. And lastly, being organized will save you time, and it will make you or save you money. Now, touching on safety. Now, we've got an install trailer. Some of you have seen it before, and we'll go through some photos here as to how exactly that all works. But one of the challenges that we had early on was we had pipe and filter fabric and stuff all over the floor. Nothing was ever in its place. And I got to tell you, I probably rolled my ankle at least a half dozen times a week just trying to get in and outside of that trailer when I was still working out in the field. We've got dedicated places in our trailer for our first aid kit. It's one of those things where you don't ever want to have to think about where the first aid kit is when you need the first aid kit. Having extra PPE on board. If one of the guys decides to forget his safety vest or his hard hat, gloves, whatever it might be, there's extra stuff in the trailer at all times. And because it has a spot in the trailer, when it's not there, we know about it and we get it replaced right away. And of course, we've also got cones, traffic control signs, and other things of that nature readily available at a moment's notice. Arian's going to love that I use that photo. He hates it every time I bring it up, but having the safety first mentality and being organized creates a happy and healthy work environment. All my employees, Arian's got 7 kids, so I want to make sure that he's able to go home at night and take care of his kids, play with his kids, do what he needs to do. So we want to make sure that we're fostering that safe environment. Having these organized spaces, having these safe areas to work, makes it easier to retain employees, right? If someone doesn't feel safe and they think they can make the same amount of money somewhere else, safer, then they're probably going to do that. That's a BC phrase there, keeping work-safe rates down. I guess what we would call that down here is your workers' comp rates. So depending on what your annual labor costs are, we get, I think we're at about 1.7% cost per month that we pay into WorkSafe in case someone ever gets hurt on the job. Obviously, if anyone ever does make a claim, that rate is going to go up. And again, we'll touch on that a little bit later as to how tangible that incident could be to your bottom line. And then avoiding WorkSafe fines. In your case, I guess OSHA. Does OSHA issue fines out here? Is that how that works? Yeah. So same idea. Everything's there. Guys have their safety gear. I actually had one gentleman in our area last, probably about a month or two ago, and we were talking about the fact that all my trucks are logoed out and you can see where we are all the time, and he said he doesn't do that. And he doesn't want to. I say, well, how come? Do you like driving like an idiot? Because that's usually what it is. And he said, no, I just don't want WorkSafe to know that I'm working somewhere, which I thought was interesting. I'm more than happy to have WorkSafe come out to our job site anytime and take a look. So now let's touch on the increased efficiency. When you've got your trailer set up with spots for all your tools, for all your parts, you're not going to spend time looking for things. You know, there's an age-old argument that's been going on for, feels like forever, but probably only the last 8 to 10 years, about iPhone versus Android. I'm team iPhone probably till the day I die because, yes, the Android can do more, but there's about 10 different ways to do everything. In an iPhone, there is one way to do something, and that is ingrained in my brain. My thumbs are moving, and I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. So it's the same sort of concept here. I want to internalize the movements, internalize everything to know where I get the things that I need. So on this particular job, it was up in Pemberton, which, for those who don't know, is about an hour north of Whistler. There is nothing close by. It's certainly not anybody who's going to have any conceal anywhere close by. And this truck came without enough conceal, which would have been a big problem for us if we didn't have a full extra box of conceal in our install trailer. So a small thing like that, having it on hand, saved us a lot of time. Might not have saved us, or might not have cost us anything because they didn't send it, but it would have taken longer to get the job done, and in the end, it would have cost us. I was housing guys out of town as well at a couple $100 a night. We have less shrink. That's an industry term as far as the waste or the spoil that you have. So being able to, when we're finished a job, grab all the fittings, whatever's left. If I got an odd one here or there, or a couple chunks of 3-4 foot long pipe, I have a spot in the trailer for that stuff now. I can tell you, and maybe I'm the only one who does this, but before I had that, if it was like 1 or 2 fittings, just throw in the garbage with the rest of it. I'm not going to worry about that. And for the time that it would have taken me to put it somewhere that it needed to go before, it was probably the right thing to do. But now, having dedicated spots for everything, it takes me a couple seconds to do, and I'm not wasting any money for my parts. Jobs are getting completed faster. Again, we talked about that. We're doing less trips to the suppliers or the supply house because of missed fittings. Right now, we basically have everything we need to complete an install in our trailer. So we will show up to site and we'll start working right away. I've already placed an order with the supplier, and they meet us on site and drop off whatever we need for that job. And so when we're done, we take whatever's left from the supplier and we restock our trailer, and away we go. I'm not worried anymore about myself forgetting to order a part or the supplier putting the incorrect part in the trailer. I've got everything I need there, and any mistakes can be addressed later when I don't have workers on the clock or excavators charge me for the time that we're there. And then, of course, it also helps you keep on schedule. You've got lots of customers out there, customers that are waiting for you to get to the next job. And, if we keep adding an extra half day here, half day there, all of a sudden the customer that was supposed to be getting their system done in 4 weeks is pushed out to 6 weeks. So we want to make sure that we're staying on top of it, and staying efficient allows us to do that. Enhanced quality, I think we've all seen it. You get to the end of a job and there's just 1 or 2 things left that need to get done, and shoot, I don't have that part, but you know what? I can make it work. I'll just use this and that, yeah, good enough. Having the parts on hand that you're supposed to have allows you to not even think of doing that in the first place. We're not going to be MacGyvering something together at the end just to get out of there and not come back. The other side of the coin is if you're unwilling to compromise yourself that way, now you're spending an extra half day driving back and forth, getting the parts you need, finishing up the way you want. Either way, it's costing you money. So The other thing is we've got all the work tools, the proper work tools on hand. We're using tools the way they're supposed to, instead of trying to use a hand saw to do 4-inch pipe. We've got reciprocating saws, we've got pipe shears for anything that's 2 inches and under. So we've got all the tools that we need on site, and we're not trying to use a wrench as a hammer. And then we also create ourselves a comfortable work environment. I've talked to a number of you guys this week. We do have the same weather as Seattle, so it rains a fair bit where we are. And so having an enclosed trailer with a workbench, with an area to assemble, especially the more intricate parts, it's a lot more comfortable for the worker, which means they're doing a better job. They're not as rushed, they're not in the rain, they're not in the elements. So we've also found that that can be a benefit to you as well. When we talk elevated professionalism, what I'm saying is when your customer shows up the first day you're on site and you roll down or you pull down that door and they look inside that trailer and they go, okay, this guy means business, he's not fooling around, and it instills an extra level of confidence within the client. I will often include a photo of our install trailer along with the proposals that we send in, just to help them understand that we aren't the guy running around in an old clapped out pickup truck with a bunch of loose fittings rolling around the back of his truck. What this does is it creates some extra pride of ownership amongst the employees as well, to say, this is where I work, this is what I do, it's something to be proud of, and they take really good care of this trailer. And again, we talked about it, keeps you on schedule, which again, keeps your customers happy, keeps them referring you to other people, and gets you on to the next job. So we want to make more money. How is that happening? Well, as we were touching on, we've got less wasted parts and supplies. The parts always make it back to the trailer. You're not wasting anything. We've got, when we have like a 2 or a 3 foot chunk of pipe, what we will do is take it back, and we do a lot of cleanouts on all of our laterals, which means we're just cutting small chunks to sort of tie in the 45-degree elbows. So we'll cut those up into smaller pieces so that we're not using a full 20-foot stick to make tiny little pieces. On top of that, you're getting more referrals from your customers, you're getting jobs done faster, and that's all going to help out your bottom line. So let's go back to the beginning. When I bought my company, it was called Septic Expert, and this is what I inherited. You know, it's, I think it was a 2006 Hino 145 with a 16-foot box on it. It was everything a guy could hope for. Look at all that space. It's got room for filter fabric. We've got room for drainage pipes. Got conduits. I think you got some levels in your grade stick over there, some diesel on the bottom. So much room. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend like I haven't had times that look like that. I found this photo in an old file from the company when I bought it over. So we had gone a couple of years without anything at all, and I decided to switch over to a trailer for a couple of reasons. One, insuring a trailer is a heck of a lot cheaper than insuring a small 5-ton. The 5-ton itself was going to require upwards of $8,000 to $9,000 worth of upgrades, even though it had recently passed a CVI. I needed a new sticker, and I wasn't going to spend that much. So went down to Oregon, found this trailer, skipped right through Washington because Oregon doesn't have any sales taxes, and picked up this Continental Cargo Tailwind. This was my first attempt at organizing my trailer. I had seen online something from Travis. I don't know if he's still here today, but Travis from Walnut Grove had done a story, and I saw a quick little flyby in one of his trailers or trucks and said, oh, I want to do something like that. So we got the trailer. I put these shelves together. I got some peel and stick vinyl flooring down. We put that on, picked some stuff up from Home Depot, and I bought a bunch of prefab or pre-cut bins for all the parts from a local box manufacturer. So if you want to do something like this, most box manufacturing companies will have templates for boxes like this. I think I spent about $400 at the time for enough boxes to fill the entire trailer. And there I am after about a couple of weeks. Just as bad as the Hino. And then we did it again. And we did it again. To be fair, about a week after that, we bought our first dump trailer because I didn't want all that crap in the install trailer, but we've still got pipe everywhere. So that left us thinking there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I went back to the drawing board. I literally went to the drawing board and opened up my AutoCAD and started drawing it out how I wanted to lay out our install trailer. Now, if anybody wants a copy of this, come find me afterwards. I cannot count how many people I've given to this over the past 3-4 years, but anybody who wants it, you're more than welcome to it. I fully understand that for the most part, a lot of you are just doing gravity systems, so you don't need a 20-foot trailer. It's more just to get a sense of the idea how you want to set it up. So let's go to the next one. This is the passenger side, the workbench. It's got the saw there, a couple slots for the Milwaukee pack-out drawers. We've got our filter fabric on the bottom there. It's tucked away. It's got a couple pins holding it back so it won't roll out. And then the driver's side, a bunch of these cardboard bins. All the green on the left side there towards the back, that is all our SDR35, 4-inch pipe. And then we've got a space or a bin for a bunch of 6-inch round irrigation valve boxes. And beside that, we've got a space for somewhere in the neighborhood of 500-600 polylock orifice shields. So my wife's a saint, right? Like this, we pulled everything out of the old trailer and we dumped it in our garage. We have 4 kids. One's in softball. I got 3 boys. They're all in hockey. I was in hockey at the time still, so we had 4 hockey bags. We had 4 golf bags, 6 bikes. It's a double wide garage, but it's not that big. And all the fittings got yanked out for something to the tune of 2 months. So that was enjoyable. So we pulled everything back out, and I had a former coworker who had bought into a franchise doing garage floors. And so I had him spray the inside floor and a little bit up the walls of the trailer with an epoxy coating. So we can literally pressure wash the floor of the trailer to get any of the dirt and grime off whenever we need. The other thing that we did, and I'd asked him about, how slippery is it? We get rain, it's a ramp door. I don't want someone wiping out when they go off the back. He said, I gotcha. We can put this crushed glass product in the flooring. So it got mixed in with the epoxy, rolled down, and we had the equivalent grit to what a skateboard tape would be. It's worn out over time, so it's about time for me to call him back and get him to redo at least the middle aisle there and the deck going out to the work area. But it's a fantastic product, and it wasn't actually an epoxy, it was something similar that does better in the sun, doesn't discolor, doesn't crack. So it's been pretty solid for us. We built some pipe racks in there so that we can have enough stuff, like I said, pretty much to do any system that we need to outside of the large commercial ones. This setup here is all made out of 1-inch steel tube. It was all designed on my part, and I had hired a local fabricator to weld all of it up together. On the other side of the bench, the one thing you'll notice if you do want a set of those drawings, my drawings aren't exactly what we ended up doing. We did make some tweaks, but we've got plenty of space for conduit, and then we don't really do a lot of 4-inch perf, 3-inch perf, or any of that stuff, so just a small pocket there. Primarily, we're doing observation ports in the field or an observation port in and around the tanks. That's generally speaking the only time that we will need any 4-inch drain perforation pipe. Now the shelving in the troughs, so again, I got these boxes from a local box manufacturer. My main supplier was really good about helping me with that. They had a similar setup in their stores with these boxes and with these labels, and I asked them how I would go about doing that, and they reached out to Spears and ordered me up a roll of labels about the size of my head. So I had to go through about 6,000 SKUs to find the 80 or so that I actually used to put them on these bins. And shortly after we got them put in, one of the things I noticed was I was spending too much time trying to figure out, okay, well, where's the 2-inch? Where's the 1.5 inches? Where's the 1.25 inches? And so I bought some colored circle stickers and added them to the boxes so that I know if I'm looking for a 2-inch, it's going to be in one of the blue boxes. And I'm not looking nearly as hard. If I need 1.5 inches, it's going to be one of the pink ones, and so on and so forth. So it made finding parts a lot quicker. And when I have my nephew fly out from Alberta for the summer, and I tell him I need an 1.5 inch 90, seems easy to all of us, but when you get someone who is fresh or still in high school, it's not so easy. So putting this system in makes it a lot easier to hire on some additional help. Now I've also got that trough sitting in front of the parts there. That is where all our cutoffs end up going. Unfortunately, the way that this trailer is set up, the only way to really grab pipe is from the end. If I cut 5 foot off of a 20-foot stick, I'm not getting it back if it slides in to that pocket. So it ends up going into this trough until we get to the next job that requires the same size pipe, and we'll start with that one. Built a workbench here, put in a saw. I wanted to have something where we could do some repeatable cuts, and this is before I even realized what a pipe shear was. I'd never seen one. So if I were to do it all over again, probably wouldn't put that there because it doesn't get used a whole lot. But we've got a saw there. We've got all of our gloves tucked away on the side there. You can see on the right, we've got our marking tape, the detectable marking tape for any of the trenching that we do. And the beautiful thing about this is everything is out in the open. I can see at a moment's glance how many gloves I've got left. Am I running out of tape? Hey, by the way, we're running out of 4-inch tees. Can you put some extra ones on the next order? No problem. We know it's a problem before it's a problem. And that's just looking out the back. The other thing that I did when we went through this latest overhaul is we put a plug in on the side. And so there's 2 ends on the inside here, right? So we can just plug an extension cord into a generator, or we can plug it into a power source. So if there's a home there that's got power, great. Just plug the extension cord into it. You're off to the races. You've got all the power you need inside the trailer. There's 2 whips inside. The first whip goes straight to a power bar. So anything that needs full power gets full power. The second whip goes over to a trickle charger. That trickle charger is connected to 2 car batteries, which powers all the internal lights that we added in the trailer, as you can see at the top there. Before this particular trailer, the lights would not go on unless you were hooked up to a truck, which is not very convenient. I'll just go back to that for a sec. So just at the back end there, you can see the traffic sign for dealing with traffic. We've got our ropes for whenever we're landing tanks or our tag lines. Keep everybody safe that way. Everything quick and easy to access. And there's a box of Conceal right at the back there. We've got our chargers in there. All the batteries are up top. Again, when we're plugged in, we're able to charge any of the batteries that we need. We're a Milwaukee shop. Everything we have is pretty much Milwaukee, except for a couple Hilti lasers. So a bit of information on this trailer. It is a 2019 Continental Cargo Tailwind, 8.5 foot wide by 20 foot long. It's got 2 3,500-pound axles. If I were to do this again, there's 3 things that I would change. 1, heavier axles. Probably go to 5,000 each. I would get a trailer that has more clearance. Right now, this one is very much a car hauler. It's super low to the ground. Great if you're going to stay on the pavement, but as we all know, we don't stay on the pavement all that much. So that is another thing I would do. The third thing that I would do is I would get one of them automated awnings on the side, especially on the man door side. Yes, we have some room to work in the trailer, but if I had an option, and I'd rather have some extra working space outside, whether it's getting some shade from the sun, whether it's staying dry in the rain. It gives the guys some extra workspace or some extra lunch or coffee break space where they don't have to worry about being in the elements. Flooring, epoxy floor we touched on, the shelving was all custom fabricated, cardboard boxes from the box shop. I bought some mounts, stainless steel mounts off of Etsy, like super, super low profile. You can't even see them when you're in the trailer. It keeps everything nice and tight and compact. The electrical, 2 car batteries, trickle charger from Noco, LED lights I just bought off of Amazon, as well as the RV plug adapter. And all of our trailers have the Fort Knox lock boxes on the tongues. So they all have a puck on them, and they're all keyed the same. So I've got 3 different boxes going on every trailer, or for each trailer, and 1 key opens them all. So I took a quick peek at what the updated pricing was on similar setup. You guys have the benefit of being this side of the border, and the numbers are lower than what they are back at home. But we've got about $12,000 for a similar trailer. It will be more if you do it the way that I would want to do it in the future. Your flooring will cost you about $1,500. Fabricator, guy was super nice to me. I don't know, some of you guys might be handy enough that you can do some of your own fabrication, but I was somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 or $9 grand parts and labor to get that all fabricated. Lumber, around $1,000. Cardboard boxes, let's call it 500 at this point. The labels were free, I didn't have to pay for that. Miscellaneous parts in and around there, let's call it like your mounts and everything else. Milwaukee toolboxes, electrical. Let's say we're around $30,000 before tax to get a trailer set up something similar to this. Now, I know a number of you are probably going to say, why would you spend that much money on something like this? I'm glad you asked. I have gone through and taken into account a number of the things, a number of inefficiencies that have tangible costs to them. So, if you have to run out to a supplier, let's say it's a half-hour drive. It's going to take you a half hour to get there. It's going to take you a half hour to get back. How long is the guy going to spend at the parts shop? It's never 2 minutes, right? So in an instance where you're saying your turnaround time back and forth is 2 hours, if you're paying your guy $40 an hour, plus you're adding in fuel, I didn't put fuel for the full drive time, that little gopher run, as I like to call it, it's going to cost you $92 every time you do that. Now let's look at the shrink or the waste. You know, if we're looking at a 4-inch piece of SDR pipe, we're going to use my dollars here. That's about $4.50 a foot. So if I can save 8 feet of that, 6 foot of some 2-inch, maybe 14 foot of 1.25 inch, like we're not using unreasonable numbers. And then some fittings, 1 4-inch fitting, 3 2-inch fittings. You can see real quick, even a quarter can of glue or primer. Who's thrown out a can of glue or primer before it's done? Used to do it all the time, but now we've got a spot for it. You can save around $137 per install by making sure everything goes back where it belongs. You may be doing it already, but if you're not, this will add up, especially depending on when you start counting on how many installs you're doing a year. Workers' comp, you know, if you're doing $250,000 a year in payroll, and you have an accident, and I'm going to find some wood to knock on because we haven't had that problem yet. Maybe it's a 0.5 increase. That's an extra $1,250 per year on your workers' comp bill. Paid wages. You know, we pay overtime. You know, take into account, plug your own numbers into this. That went the wrong way. Plug your own numbers into the calculators here and figure out what this actually equates to for you. But, you know, if we're paying around $40 an hour, regular wage, and I've got over 200 hours in the year at $60 now, because we're time and a half, if I think I can reduce that overtime by half, I'm keeping an additional $6,000 a year in my pocket, or I can use that time that I save to go make more money on the next install. So this is one that a lot of people don't take into account, is your opportunity lost, right? You know, even when I told that story about going out to pick up parts, everyone's like, it doesn't cost that. I'll just go get it myself. It doesn't cost that. Well, if you keep adding time to your days, you're losing out on days where you could be doing installs. So let's take a look at this. You know, how many days a year can you do an install? Again, put your own numbers in here. I know it gets colder. I'm not sure how many days a year you guys can go. We can do a lot of them ourselves. This number's probably a little bit lower than what we should be at, but let's say it's 140 days a year, and you can complete 30 installs a year. You know, put down how many typical installs, or how many days it takes you to do an install. Write in the number that you want for a daily profit. Now, with efficiency, figure out, okay, how much time can I actually save on an install by being efficient? If you say it's half a day, right? Let's say it's half a day, that's going to free up an additional 15 days that you can be putting installs in the ground. And so how many extra system installs could you complete, theoretically, if you've got the work for it? Another 3 systems. At $10,000 a system, that's an extra $30,000 profit. We're not talking about it, we're talking profit at the end of the year. And let's say, okay, I don't have that much time to do installs, but I do have some maintenance work that I can do. Plug in your number on what you make on maintenance per year, or per day rather. If it's $1,000 and you've got an extra 15 days, it's 15 grand extra in your jeans. So let's just take a look at the end here, because I love to show people where the return on their investment comes and how quickly they can get it. Again, use your numbers. These are merely examples. I think they're fair, but use your numbers. You know, if we eliminate one run back to the supplier on every install, that's $2,700 per year. If we save that $137 per system on waste, that's another $4,200. And if we minimize our overtime payout, or that's another $6,000, and your extra $30,000 for additional installs being put in a year. And then keep more. That's the one thing that I put in there, and why I sort of talked on workers' comp. That can have a negative impact on you really quickly, depending on how big you are and how many people you're paying for. I think my payroll this year was actually closer to 400 or 500,000. So a half point, it's an extra $3 grand a year almost at that point for me to pay for nothing, kinda. So yeah, at the end of the year, you can see a swing in your business in the neighborhood of $43,000, and it only costs $30,000 only to get a trailer set up and run. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. That's about all I have on that. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any on that setup, or any questions about the numbers that I just put up there. Again, I can be reached at any of the information up above. Just, yeah, any questions at all? Cool. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. I appreciate your time out here.